Hi, everyone. On behalf of our team at LSE, I want to talk about something that's, well, it's one of the most urgent issues of our time. It's about how we protect civilians caught in war zones. We've been diving deep into the research, and what we've uncovered is this powerful story of both a deepening crisis and real, tangible hope. So let's start with a number, and it's a huge one: 300 million. That's how many people right now need humanitarian help across the globe. It's almost impossible to wrap your head around a number that big, right? But it's so important we try, because behind every single one of those digits is a real person, a family whose world has been turned upside down. And here's the thing, the crisis isn't just big, it's getting worse, fast. In just 1 year, the number of civilians hurt or killed by explosive weapons jumped by 67%. I mean, just let that sink in. 67%. That's a trend going in the absolute worst direction. And this is what really drove our whole investigation. It's this massive contradiction. The crisis is at an all-time high. But the crazy part is the solutions already exist. We know what to do. So what's going on? Why the gap? That's the central question we're going to tackle together today.
All right, so let's get into it. A crisis of contradiction. First, we have to look at the grim reality of what's happening on the ground.
You know, when you look at the data, it's clear the system is it's buckling. I mean, think about this. 1 in every 67 people on Earth has been forced to flee their home. That's just staggering. And it gets worse. We're seeing attacks on hospitals hitting record highs. Humanitarian aid is being blocked on purpose. And all the while, the mechanisms we have to protect people are being chronically underfunded.
Okay, so that's the tough part. But this isn't just a story about a crisis. It's also a story about what works. And this is where things get really hopeful. There's a blueprint for protection already out there, made up of proven, feasible solutions.
So first on the list, early warning systems. This is really cool stuff. We're talking about using technology, things like satellite data and smart algorithms, to actually predict where threats might pop up before they happen. This gives people crucial time to get to safety. And does it work? Oh yeah, the impact is huge. In places that are being heavily bombed, just having these systems in place can reduce casualties by up to 27%. That's a huge number of lives saved, simply by being proactive instead of reactive. All right, number 2 on the blueprint, properly resourced peacekeeping. And the keyword there is properly resourced. We're talking about missions that have the funding, the staff, and a clear goal to prevent violence before it even starts. And when they have what they need, they work. And just how well do they work? Check this out. It's estimated that between 2001 and 2013, these missions prevented about 150,000 battle deaths. 150,000. That's basically the population of a small city saved. Okay, the third piece of the puzzle is all about community-based protection. And this one is so important. It's about shifting the power to the people who know this situation best, the local communities themselves. They go from being seen as victims to being the leaders of their own safety. And you can see why this works so well. Local communities have the trust, they have the knowledge, they can achieve things that external groups just can't. They get better results on everything from reducing human rights abuses to improving gender equality. It's just more effective and sustainable. And the final part of our blueprint is about something absolutely crucial: strengthened accountability. It's pretty simple, really. When people who break the rules of war face real consequences, it acts as a powerful deterrent. It sends a message that you can't get away with it. And this isn't just a theory. We have the data. Investigations by groups like the International Criminal Court can actually reduce the intentional killing of civilians by about 30% in some areas. That's the bottom line. Impunity lets violence grow, but accountability helps stop it. Okay, so this brings us right back to that big question from the beginning. We have the blueprint, we know what works, so what's stopping us? What's the true obstacle? Well, our research shows it's not about not knowing what to do. It's a crisis of political will and funding. This chart just says it all, doesn't it? Peacekeeping is proven to work. It saves lives. But look at the spending. For every dollar we spend on peacekeeping, we spend $8 on equivalent military operations. It just doesn't make sense. We're spending way more on the more expensive, often less effective option. And that lack of funding has heartbreaking consequences. Take a look at the global humanitarian funding for 2024. The world needed about $49 billion for the absolute basics, but we only got about a third of that. That means two-thirds of the need just went unmet. That's a massive gap, and it's measured in human lives. And this slide really shows you the human cost of that underfunding. On the one hand, we have all these commitments to protect aid workers, to uphold international law, but the reality, we see thousands of attacks on healthcare. The vast majority of aid workers killed are local staff, and very few perpetrators are ever brought to justice. The gap between promise and reality is devastating. So look, this can all feel really overwhelming, but the whole point of our research isn't to make you feel helpless. It's the opposite. This is a solvable problem, and this is where we talk about your role in the solution, turning what you now know into real action. So, how can you help? We've found 3 clear ways anyone can make a difference. First, your expertise. If you have professional skills in tech or law or medicine, they are desperately needed. Second, your participation. Use your voice, advocate for funding, educate people around you. And third, your support. If you're able, providing financial support to the organizations on the front lines is critical. And if you are looking to support an organization, it's so important to back groups with a proven impact. The ones you see here, they're the real deal. They're on the front lines doing this life-saving work every single day, and they know how to make every dollar count. Now, underpinning everything we've talked about is this concept: international humanitarian law, or IHL. You can think of it as the rulebook for war. And these rules aren't suggestions. They're designed to protect people who aren't fighting and to limit the brutality of conflict. They are essential. And this really gets to the core of it. This quote says it all. Protecting civilians is not charity, but an obligation under international law. This is the key takeaway from our work. It's not about being nice, it's about a legal and moral duty. So we'll leave you with this final thought. The blueprint to save lives is right here. It exists. The evidence is in. So the only real question left is, are we going to build it? The choice really is up to all of us.